aspired to the purity of the blessed machine. Your kind cling to your flesh, as if it will not decay and fail you.
The developers over at Bullmark Studios have created a story-driven, turn-based strategy RPG game called Warhammer 40k Mechanicus. Does this game have what it takes to stand up to Necron Gauss rifles? Or is it cut down by war sites? Find out in our review. Warhammer 40k Mechanicus is a turn-based strategy game that has a heavy emphasis on story. You play as the 40k faction called the Adeptus Mechanicus, a race of humans that are obsessed with merging mind and machine together to obtain the perfect form. Their flagship, dubbed the Ark, is investigating a strange signal coming from a planet. You soon discover the tomb of an advanced robot race called the Necrons that has started to awaken. Your mission is to destroy these heretics and research their technology for the glory of the machine god you serve. The game has several key characters that converse with each other during your playthrough, with appropriate 40k names. I'm sure I'll butcher some of them over the course of this review. While you don't directly or indirectly control any of these characters in the game, it's really fun to see their distinct personalities. Some are more machine than human, and others vice versa, creating a unique way they speak. Some characters, like Videx, focus on religious aspects and quote scripture from the Holy Machine God text. While Tech Inquisitor Scavola is obsessed with research and learning from Xenos technology. Oh, by the way, Xenos is what the Imperium refers to as anything that's non-human. It's fun to read the way each character speaks, as some talk more like a computer completely void of emotion, while others still have feelings and empathy intact. Their level of humanity varies based on how much machine integration the character has. All characters speak in a techno-babble sound effect that really reminds me of the Protoss units in StarCraft. There is voice acting, but it's purely limited to the Necron boss enemies, which is unfortunate. I'd really like to hear how these Adeptus Mechanicus characters talk, with real voice actors.
Years without counting, I have slumbered, and the nightmares still don't end.
The gameplay is a turn-based RPG dungeon crawler. You send out a customized squad of up to 6 units, which can consist of Tech Priests, which are fully customizable, and Troops, which are more one-trick units. Similar to Darkest Dungeon, you have an overview of each tomb through the ship's map interface. You'll move from room to room and run into battles that are clearly marked on the map with an orange objective marker or red enemies. Other rooms have glyphs that do good or bad things. You'll want a pen and paper handy or have a great photographic memory to ensure you don't activate a bad rune twice. Some rooms have what the game calls events, where you are shown a problem of sorts and have 3 ways to deal with said problem. This mechanic really took me back to the days of the Choose Your Own Adventure books, and it's really fun to read about what the issue is and figure out the best way to move forward. However, for how fun the mechanic is from a role-playing standpoint, the outcomes, which can either be negative or positive, seem to be completely random, which kinda sucks. You may think that checking carefully for traps is the right call, and then you'll get punished. While other times, blasting things with flamethrowers or explosives give you positive outcomes. This RPG element is fun and a joy to read and make decisions on, but I just wish playing smart or role-playing your choices would make a bit more sense. Throughout your playthrough, you'll mainly encounter these machines, known as Necrons, who are an ancient super advanced robotic race that have begun to awaken to basically destroy all life they deem unworthy in the galaxy.
Insects. This galaxy is infested with vermin.
Fans of the tabletop game will enjoy seeing Necron soldiers, immortals, destroyers, and cryptotech units move and come to life in this turn-based game. It's always great to see your favorite tabletop models move around in animated fashion and see their famous Gauss weaponry in action. You'll also encounter corrupted and rebel units from your own faction as well. As you move through the map, a Necron weight gauge will fill. As it fills, it will make battles you encounter harder by spawning more enemies, reanimating down Necrons faster, or allowing them to attack first in battle. It's a risk-reward system, and it doesn't just go away when you've completed the mission. After every mission, the level of weight gauge you tallied up is added to a percentage in your main mission screen under a bar called the Awakening. Once it reaches 100%, you're locked out of all other missions and are forced to deal with the game's final boss. This means you need to treat each mission with care and preparation. However, this also means you are inclined to miss out on items and missions that you'll have to replay with the start of a new game to experience. So just be aware of the meter and make your decisions wisely. You can get put in a corner if you make poor choices, or are not prepared going into certain missions.
I sailed the void for 1,000 years. I fought the war in heaven. What can you do to strike fear in one such as I?
The combat in the game is a classic turn-based strategy. I will say, while 40k Mechanicus does have certain elements in common with games like XCOM, its combat is slightly different. The combat is all about positioning, turn order, and resource management. Your units activate individually and can attack, use an ability, and move. But what's really fun is you're not limited to that order. You can move, attack, move again, and use an ability, as long as you have not used all your movement beforehand. You can do more, and hit harder, with the use of Cognition Points, which serves as the game's resource. You can obtain these cog points by walking past pillars and touching them, scanning them with your servo skull, choosing certain glyphs in the map, and even triggering certain events can give you additional cog points. After each round in battle, the points on the pillars are refreshed and can be grabbed again, making your positioning on the battle grid paramount to your success, as strong attacks and abilities usually require multiple cog points to use. I'd say the biggest difference this game has over other games like XCOM is that you'll rarely miss an attack, unless the enemy has some sort of ability activated. Your only RNG is in the form of how much damage you do. At your home screen, you'll set out on missions that yield specific type of enemies, as well as certain equipment, troops, and Blackstone rewards upon completion. Blackstone is the currency you'll use to upgrade your tech priest and build a class role for your team, and honestly, it's really enjoyable to do. There are 7 tech trees, each with 9 unlockable abilities. These range from being able to take more hits, scan better, be more effective at range, etc. You're able to customize each tech priest to best fit your party composition. In the end, I had designed a healer support character, a heavy-hitting tank, and a ranged assassin. It's not just unique abilities you unlock though. As you level up your tech priest with Blackstone, you'll gain augment slots, which you'll use to equip melee and ranged weapons, armor and health improvements, and special equipment that once activated in battle will have you do things like do more physical or energy damage during that turn. You can even customize your tech priest visual color scheme. It all adds up to building the ultimate tomb exploring party that you like to use, and I absolutely love when the developers give me the tools to play how I want in a dungeon crawler RPG. I'd also be remiss not to mention the controls. Whether it's combat, navigation, or customization, the developers have done an outstanding job mapping these things to the console controller. Not once was I overwhelmed or confused, and I was able to do just about everything as easily as if I were on a PC with keyboard or mouse, which I think is a huge accomplishment. While the in-game tutorials and tooltips do a decent job at explaining the equipment, exploration, and combat mechanics, there are some things that are trial and error, which can be frustrating. For example, there are certain status effects you can be hit with. Instead of having an icon over the unit, or even in the profile picture at the top, it rather shows a very subtle line of arrows or cosmetic colors, both which can be hard to see. Whether it's a damaging DOT, an immobilized status effect, or an enemy ability that has you auto-miss your next attack, it's not labeled in a clear enough way on the screen. I also encountered a lot of issues with line of sight and opportunity attacks. While there is terrain that blocks line of sight from ranged attacks in the game's battles, there's really no cover or benefits from it. Corners can also be a frustrating experience. You may think you're safe in cover that's blocking line of sight to a ranged attack. Then the enemy clearly attacks, sometimes quite literally through a solid wall. Then there's the opportunity attacks, and they're exactly what they sound like. Once engaged adjacent to an enemy, if you or they disengage, they or you get to make a free attack. However, again, corners seem to be an issue. You'd think that once engaged, moving anywhere adjacent would be allowed. But apparently, enemies have a front arc, and if you pass it, you get hit, even though you're still adjacent to the enemy. This was something that confused me several times over the course of my playthrough. There were also instances where I thought I would get opportunity attacked and just didn't. Again, this plays back to the icons. Maybe he was immobilized and I just didn't have a visual way of seeing it. The visuals look good for a 3D turn-based action game, and while the top-down isometric angle works well for planning out your attack, it's a little disappointing the game didn't feature a kill cam, or even get up close for attacks. In fact, it does the exact opposite. The camera pulls back on a kill or attack. With so many cool weapons, enemies, and tech priest augmentations, it would have been a nice touch to see these models up close, even if it were just for a killing blow. Warhammer 40k Mechanicus is a really fun turn-based game that combines class customization, RPG tones, and strategic gameplay, all rolled up into a nice little 40k themed dungeon crawler. If you play tabletop 40k as Necrons or Adeptus Mechanicus, you really should pick this up. The game may not be at the same level as the XCOM series, but it's different and fun enough to keep you entertained for a good long while. Plus, it's on Nintendo Switch. For more game reviews and videos, you're already in the right place. You're on Shacknews.com.
For the machine is immortal. Even in death, I serve the undesired.